welcome back to Inspiredsiren. Today we will be doing a Let's Talk Books. We are going to be talking about the book Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book I've ever read by him. I have friends who really like him and had recommended this book. So, in the background, you are going to be seeing me playing the game Spiritfarer. So I'm just going to do a quick diatribe on the game. So Spiritfarer is kind of like a mystical game that kind of manages, like, basically it's exactly what it is. Like you are a farer to spirits, and I haven't fully finished the game or played that long. I've only played about an hour or two, but it is so beautiful. It's easy to learn. It feels like creative, but also like guided enough. Some of the characters are pretty witty and funny, and you sail along the ocean. And so that's actually kind of what led me to choosing that game as the background for this Let's Talk Books, because both Tress of the Emerald Sea and Spiritfarer have some humor, some wittiness to them, and they are also both obviously on, seas. They both take place majority on ships. They do a lot of like little individual character building where you get to know special stories of each character. So the game and the book felt, in my mind, very matched, and I thoroughly enjoyed them both. So there's going to be spoilers from this point forward. So if you want to stop here, I would say read the book, absolute flippin' delight, play the game, stunning, beautiful, 100% worth your time, and let's get into it. So we can just start with like a base overview of kind of the world that this is. So, Tress of the Emerald Sea is based on a world where there is various seas. The Emerald one is where the main character lives, Tress. And every one of the seas has like a different kind of spore, which is dangerous when it comes into contact with water. So the Emerald Sea, for example, is kind of like a vines or like a toxic kind of algae vibe, where if it gets wet, it like sprouts vines, which can be kind of dangerous and have a mind of their own. They could trap you. They could, lots of different things. So all like through the book, we encountered different seas with different types of spores. And so the main character, Tress, she lives in the Emerald Sea. Now, she lives on this island called the Rock. Oh, I forgot to mention. So for the spores, the ways to like kind of negate their effects is salt or silver. So like when Tress talks about drinking tea, she's like, well, it's salty tea because like otherwise the spores would live. And like things like ships, where the ships are going to sail through the spore seas, basically they have, they're lined with silver. So to kind of keep the sailors safe. So our main characters kind of from the get-go are Tress, who we don't know much about, but other than she has crazy hair, which I relate to, and she is a window washer. She kind of lives at a poverty level. And then we have Charlie, who is the Duke's son on the island. So he's like the wealthier, royalty, I think. Dukes are royalty? I don't know. I'm not well versed in royalty language, but they kind of like have like a little bit of like a courtship. They like really fall in love. Charlie, the Duke's son, pretends that he's not royal. He just pretends he's like a gardener, but he wears all these fancy clothes and he doesn't actually do any gardening. And so like Tress knows that he's the Duke's son, but it's like the Duke's kind of this crappy, scary guy, and he like doesn't want his son dating her, because society sucks sometimes. And so kind of that's where the story starts out. And Charlie's father, the Duke, kind of sees this courtship happening, and he decides, you know what, that will not do. I am going to take my son and I am going to find him a person to marry. So he decides to take Charlie off of the island. Oh, by the way, no one's allowed to leave the island, ? Like, how freaking sketchy is that? I think it's literally just to serve the royal population. I'm not sure exactly. But so anyway, Charlie's gonna leave, and he promises Tress, like, I will do everything I can to stop this. I will write you letters or whatever. And kind of the first couple chapters, you know, Tress is getting letters, and Tress collects like teacups, and so Charlie sends a cup of various kinds. You know, he sends this like really heavy metal intense one. He sends this other one that is like porcelain with a butterfly on it, and so he's sending her these, and then they stop. Tress suddenly doesn't get letters. She doesn't hear from him. She doesn't get cups, and she finds out that Charlie and one day she just wakes up and the Duke is back, and he like has a replacement kid. Like, it's Charlie's cousin or something. I can't remember what it is, but it doesn't really freaking matter. But the point is that the Duke was just like, ugh, this son is being annoying. He won't get married. He's like trying to scare all these women off so that he can go be with Tress. So I'm just going to like trade him to the sorceress, which is like this evil, scary thing that lives in the Midnight Sea. So we have the Midnight Sea with the scary sorceress. We have the Crimson Sea, which is kind of outlining that with a dragon, ? And Tress is stuck here in the Emerald Sea, and she is like, wait, he's not coming back. And so she kind of like lives in grief, and she lives in sadness. And for a while she's like, well, this sucks. Like, bummer, dude. And then she's like, wait a minute, I could rescue him. And she has this like enlightening moment where she's like, no one else is gonna help me. Like, I have to do this by myself. And, you know, her parents are trying to convince her that she's gonna be okay, like whatever. And then, you know what, they get on board too, because they're like, you know what, you're right. Like, we'll help you. And kind of they use the community. She sneaks onto a ship. She pretends to be like whoever inspects the ships so that like they know that people aren't leaving the island. And so she sneaks onto a ship. And then almost immediately she gets drugged. Like, oh, I can't remember if I told you this yet, but there will be spoilers. So go read the book. It only took me like a week to read this book because it was so good. So like, go read the book and then come back. But anyway, spoilers from here out. She gets drugged on the ship. She gets put in this, you know, jail cell. While she's down in the jail cell, she meets a talking rat. So we meet Huck the rat, which is like this, he's just kind of this cute little rat that like for some reason can talk. And she's kind of talking with this rat, and she's stuck in this cell, and then the ship that she's on gets attacked. So long story short, the ship gets attacked, and Tress decides, you know what, I'm going to steal the rat, and I'm going to walk across the spores, which at some points the spores just like stop moving and you can walk across them. But obviously if you disrupt them or you get them near your eyes or you cry or something, like something bad's going to happen. But she ends up getting that. She gets onto this new ship. The rest of the story is focused around this new ship called the Crow's Song. And then once we're on there, she finds all these lovely, lovely characters. So the narrator is really humorous in this book. The narrator ends up being one of the main characters like later on or whatever, but the humor in this book, this is part of why I matched the game Spiritfarer with this book, is just because of the witty humor. But let me read you this quote. This is when he's talking about how horrible of an idea it is for Tress to walk across the spores. He says, "It is, but a terrible idea executed brilliantly has to be better than a brilliant idea executed terribly. I mean, look at pelicans." There's just like so many funny quotes like that where like the narrator is like inputting his own humor. And I saw some reviews about this that they didn't like the narrator, but I think that is such a special part of this book because like there are these moments where like Tress is getting, you know, drugged and like put in jail, or the ship is getting attacked and you're sure she's gonna die. And then the narrator just like inserts some of this like adorable humor, and it lightens the book to a point where you almost feel like safe enough to experience the intensity of the emotional happenings. So I don't know if I described that well, but I loved the balance of the humor in this book. It made it like entertaining. I literally laughed like multiple times just reading this book, even though I was also kind of like getting so attached. So on the Crow Song, we meet like a couple of really special characters. We meet this woman named Anne, who is supposed to be like the assistant cannon master, but can't aim worth a freaking damn. And so she like tries to aim at something and she'll be like a mile off. And then we've got Fort, who is kind of, he like does the cooking. He's kind of like in my mind, he's like the I don't know, all around person. I can't remember if he had a real job, but he's like deaf, so he uses this tablet to communicate. We've got Soleil, who guides the ship. We've got Crow, the captain, and she's like been infected with spores, so she's kind of freaky, like doing weird sketchy things. And then you know, of course, we've got Tress and Huck and Hoyd, the narrator. So like there's all these beautiful stories. I think that's one of the best parts of the book, you know, with Tress kind of going through, she some point realizes, okay, the Crow Song, like all of these people are great, but the captain and the person that's in charge of like shooting people, they're trying to like hurt people. I should probably run away. And then she, you know, she has the chance. The captain of the ship is like kind of sketched out by her. She's allowed to run away if she wants, but especially because she wants to run away because she wants to go rescue Charlie. Like the ship is a detour. But she can't bring herself to do it. And I think this is one of the developmental like storylines of Tress that I really love, is that she is so in tune with other people and she's so empathetic that like even a little bit to the detriment of herself, like she'll like put herself in harm's way, or she won't take care of herself because she thinks it will hurt other people. One thing, like one quote about that I really loved in this book is that she says, it might seem, or I guess this is the narrator talking, it might seem that the person who can feel for others is doomed in life. Isn't one person's pain enough? Why must a person like Tress feel for two or more? Yet I've found the people who are the happiest are the ones who learn the best to feel. It takes practice, you know, effort. And those who late in life have been feeling for 2, 3, or 1,000 different people, well, turns out they've had a leg up on everyone else all along. Empathy is an emotional loss leader. It pays for itself eventually. And like heckin' true in this book, that absolutely comes true with how Tress interacts with all these people. So she decides to stay on the ship because she can sense that Crow is being kind of sketchy and like is not have the best out for her crew, and she ends up like really caring about them. And so kind of over time we see Tress is kind of like figuring out ways in which she can like make herself useful and kind of navigate this and trying to be helpful for all these crew members. That's like not even what she was doing in the first place. And so she becomes the ship's sprouter, which basically means that she's in charge of like messing with spores and using different types of spores to help in situations. Like there's one type of spore like that are, it's like rose, that if your ship gets hit, you can kind of like grow it and patch up the hole before you sink. Or in, you know, cases of desperate need for food, you can grow some of the vines and eat them. And so she starts experimenting. She's like working on this. And she's like actually not afraid of spores. And because of this, the captain decides to use her. So the captain is going to trade Tress basically for like her life, because the captain has that weird spore disease. And so the captain is like, I'm gonna take these freaking people to the Crimson Sea, which is supposed to be hella dangerous, so that I can trade Tress and get what I want. And Tress finds out about this, and she's like, you know what, like, if it helps the crew, then I'll do it. Like, that's fine. And she's kind of going through all these moral dilemmas in her mind of like telling the crew things versus trying to, help herself, trying to like not mess up too much with her journey, but also she's wanting to honor all these people. And so like throughout the journey of this book, she develops these like really beautiful stories, with Fort, who's like always wanting to trade things and horrible at cooking. She like teaches him how to cook, and she basically improves that and like ends up saving his life more than once. And then we've got Anne, who is a horrible shot, and Tress ends up like really like spending time with her. And there's this really beautiful scene where she helps Anne like aim and actually like do a little bit better of like shooting a cannon. And like Anne ends up being like, oh, like I was beginning to believe that I was cursed, and it's not me. Like I just have bad aim, and like it's okay. And so Tress builds all these relationships, and then kind of the story of the captain being kind of evil and having evil intentions comes out. And so throughout the way they figure this out. They're trying to whatever. And so they get to the point where Tress is about to be traded. The captain is going to take her and trade her for what she wants. And Tress gets a little witty, and she decides, hold on, I'm gonna shut my door because my cat's making sounds. Wait, Tress gets a little witty, and she decides, you know what? If the captain can trade me, then I can trade the captain. And she ends up trading the captain, and then comes back from this scary mission in the Crimson Seas and is now the captain of the ship, because everyone's like, heck yeah. And then they all find out, like, okay, you're after Charlie. Charlie's in the Midnight Sea. There's no way to get there, but we'll go with you, because she's earned like the respect and love of the people on the ship. And so they trying to go get Charlie. And yeah, so much of this book, like, it really just talks about knowledge and understanding and like trying to gain empathy. Like there's this one quote that I love that was like, when one abandons fears and assumptions, an entire world opens up. There was just so much of this book I think was so beautiful. There is like sorry, hold on. I got slightly distracted. Someone sent me a text. Oh, there's another quote that says, but for humans at large, knowledge usually equates to empathy, and empathy leads to understanding. So Tress kind of has gone through this situation. She comes back. She ends up not actually even getting anything for herself. She saves herself from Captain Crow and the Crimson Seas and all the scary stuff happening there. And then she like gives to other people. She gives Anne glasses to help her aim better. She gives Fort like a different type of tablet so that he can communicate better. She Soleil has been looking, the helmswoman and looking for her dad, and she finds the location, right? She's giving, and she's not asking for anything in return. And like, they agree then, you know what? No, like, we're taking you to go rescue Charlie. Like, you deserve it. Like, and we want to help you. And she's still kind of resistant. She tries to go by herself. She ends up getting like captured by the sorcerer, the evil person in the world, and like she's basically trapped there by herself. And then of course her crew has come back to get her. And I think this is the moment where we realize that Tress has been so dependent on just herself, feeling like she's only herself. And then the book says this: change has an illusionary aspect to it. We pretend that big changes hang on single decisions, single moments, and they do. But single decisions and single moments in turn have a mountain of smaller decisions behind them. And so all of this, like, Tress is the good guy, and like the good guy does win. This book gave me so much hope for like, I would say I'm like definitely a people pleaser, and also working on holding my own and asking things of other people, but also like I have such empathy and such understanding, and I do my best to take care of others more than myself. And so like Tress has kind of like gotten to this point, and then there's this peak where she is taken by the sorceress. Also, side note, this is going to be a really big spoiler. Turn it off if you don't want to hear this, but the rat ends up being Charlie. Like, basically, the sorcerer had tricked Charlie into turning into a rat, and then was like, I bet, like, you know, like, you can get Tress to come back to me or whatever. And long story short, the sorcerer is basically using Charlie against Tress. Surprise, surprise, evil people doing evil things. Anyway, so kind of we get to the point. Tress is alone. She needs to be rescued, but she has, up until this point, not accepted help. And then her crew asks her, like, okay, like, we're here, we want to help you, but do you order us to turn around? Like, they're going to honor her no matter what. And in that moment, Tress, like, has this huge growth where she says, no. Tress whispered, please help me. And her crew, like, smiles and, like, goes and helps her, and they end up being able to save her. And they, like, it's just such a cool ending to the book, where Tress realized, like, it's okay for me to need help, and like I actually do deserve that. Like, I'm a good person and I have helped all these people. And like, so the book ends in such a sweet, happy way. I love this part of the book, and that, like, you know, they end up being able to rescue Tress. The sorcerer ends up being, like, exiled. Charlie gets unturned into a rat, and he gets to be a person again, and like they can go back to the island and like snub the Duke, who like tried to sell his child to the sorcerer, and all this stuff. So such a good book. Like, I think so creative. I loved the world building in this. Actually, this is very true of the game Spiritfarer too. Like, the world building is so cool, and it's just like, there's actually even pictures in the book. I don't know if they're in color in the actual book. I've been reading it on like an ebook, but like, the world building is absolutely amazing. There's so many cool like different aspects of like things that you would never guess, like seas that are made of toxic spores, and like moons and islands and sorcerers, and like all these different curses, and the way that these boats work. And it was such an interesting read, and it was such a unique read. I saw that in, I think it was the author's note at the beginning, where he talks about how this book was a product of him just like not pleasing anybody, and like freaking snaps for that, because like that also mirrors Tress's journey, and she doesn't have to like choose between like herself and others. She gets to kind of integrate at the end, and she gets to grow. And the humor of the narrator was so good, and the way that all the characters had these beautiful, deep stories. I don't know how he did that in such a small book. I think it's only like 300 something pages. But I highly recommend. It was such a lovely read. It super, like I said before, it like super gave me hope for the good guy, and that like change and growth can happen. And also that like it's okay to take up space, it's okay to exist in the world, it's okay to ask for help, and also how important it is to work on understanding and kindness. And yeah, I mean, I think this video is going to come out at the end of Pride Month, and I think like what a good example uh, of something that we could all kind of do around like literally just someone doesn't look like you, someone doesn't act like you, someone doesn't live like you. Like instead of being hateful or like asking them to change, to like turn inward and like work on empathy and work on compassion and recognize how much space there is for different types of people, and not to be selfish. And man, anyway, I loved this read. If you read this book, please like leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know like if there is any books or games that you would like to hear. Shoot me a comment. I like am always looking for new suggestions. If you haven't already, I would love if you would subscribe and join. We release a video every Friday here on Inspiredsiren, which talks about books, or we have games, a little lightness in the world. And I would highly recommend both the book Tress of the Emerald Sea as well as the game Spiritfarer. I will catch you next Friday. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'll see you then. Bye.